guys, we'll work at it that way. All right, good to see you this morning. Thank you for being here that way. Let's just do one quick song. I think we're a little long on material this morning, even though you only got one sheet. My wife, she reads me like a book. She said, "That's not much," but I looked at it. You got a lot, don't you? She types 4 pages. She says, "You don't have much." She types 1 and says, "That's a lot." That's when your wife knows you. Let's just do Nothing is Impossible. Nothing is impossible when you put your trust in God. Nothing is impossible when you're trusting in His Word. Listen to the voice of God to thee. Is there anything too hard for me? Then put your trust in God alone and trust on His Word. For everything, oh everything, yes everything is possible with God. This has nothing to do with the lesson. I read a book this week, and I love books about pro athletes who are believers. This man's testimony said, "Am I a football player who happens to be a Christian?" And he writes, "No, I am a Christian who happens to be a football player." And the whole book is just a wonderful, wonderful testimony of this man who is an NFL player and came up the hard way. One of those kids who had one college scholarship and never got drafted in the NFL and made it. But it's one of those year to year and get cut and wait for somebody to pick you up and put on a taxi squad and everything else. But all the way through, it's just a praise of his testimony. And I just picked out a couple paragraphs. He said, I'm sure thankful God's mercy and grace are boundless because I keep seeming to find new ways to screw up. But God doesn't have failure in mind for us. God wants everyone to succeed, to get gooder and gooder, as one famous American said. I think that I would be just as happy in any other profession with Christ in my life. If that was His plan for me, then I would be confident that I'd find joy in it. Maybe that's why the Lord has carved out this specific windy path for me. Maybe I wouldn't have learned what He wanted to teach me any other way. Sure, it may have been extremely hard when I was in some of those low moments, and He had a lot of them. I may not have been able to see the good in any of what was going on around me. I may have been close to throwing in the towel and giving up, which He was many times. But looking back, I can see God's fingerprint in every area of my life. I want people to know that. If I was 6'4" and I got scholarship offers from every college in the nation, then I went on to be the top pick in the draft, would my story reach people in the same way? I don't know. I'll admit there were times I wish all of that was the case. But now I'm glad I had to take a harder route to get to the NFL. I'm thankful for the tough times in my life. I honestly can say that. When I first hurt my knee in college, I was devastated. Devastation turned to hopelessness. But God comforted me through His Word and friends and family, and that despair turned around to hope. Hope then turned to resolve. Resolve turned to thankfulness, and thankfulness finally turned to joy. It has been an incredible journey. And he goes on that way. The whole book is just, at the lowest moments, he always found God was there, etc., etc.
Who is it? Who's the guy?
Oh, I am not going to tell you. Because you'll be the first guy to borrow that book, except it's got to go to Buddy first. I think he's the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Case Keenum. Case Keenum? Yeah, it's Case Keenum. It's very good. And I'm halfway through the book, and I thought, oh, Dave Burrell's going to want to borrow this one. That's why I didn't want to tell you. Dave will want this. Yeah, that way. So it's good that way. What do you suppose, of all the emotions that you go through as a parent, what do you suppose, and studies by Christian organizations back this up, is the most common emotion that parents feel? Worry, I would say that's certainly on the list. Sorrow?
I mean, it's good, it's good, but there's a lot of, just when you see kids
Certainly.
make bad choices.
Better parents than I am. Impatience.
Yeah.
Frustration.
You and I can write,
That's mine.
you and I can write that book together. I had none of that. Were you impatient? You're being wishy-washy.
Yes, I was impatient. I could not stand disobedience.
I would put on there that you were terribly patient. She never got gooder and gooder at it. All right, these are all good. Any others?
Obviously love.
Yeah, well,
Sometimes you feel failure.
failure. David?
Yeah, there are times when I say, Lord, why didn't you teach me this sooner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm going to read to you again, not long. I don't want to insult your intelligence here by reading to you all the time. There's some familiar scenarios, maybe not familiar to you, but perhaps. Your precious 3-year-old wakes up one day and decides they want to run their own life. Can't imagine that. A 3-year-old that wants to run their own life. Okay, we'll go over here. I think we have an audience over here for that one. Wants to run their own life. They don't need you anymore. The two of you who once shared the same body are now wholly separate. Or you're a homeschooling mother. You've given your life completely to do this project. You stepped away from a lot of responsibilities and privileges at church. You stepped out of your work and your vocation so you could turn pages too many at a time. Sorry about that. So you can fully serve your family. You wonder if you'll have any other ministry again. But where is the personal fulfillment you expect from this work? You're a single parent trying to support your 2 children. You have to put your younger child in daycare. This was never part of your parenting plan. You ask yourself, how can I raise my kids to be godly adults when I'm absent so much? Or your teenage son will barely speak to you. He is angry, he is distant, you struggle to love him, you hardly even like him right now. But admitting these feelings makes you guilty. You thought you'd always feel a deep love for him as you did when he was an infant. What happened? You have a special needs child who requires constant care. You love that child, but this is not what you signed up for. You feel as though you've given up the life you and your spouse desired. Resentment seeps in, and then, of course, you feel guilty about that. You're parenting the best way you know how, guided by the best-selling Christian books and the best friends, but your child just is not responding. Why aren't they happy and content? What are you doing wrong? Why can't you create the peaceful Christian home so many promise? If you believe the parental angst and fatigue you feel is yours alone, consider this. In a survey conducted by Focus on the Family, and I'm sure you're familiar with them, the most frequent comment from mothers was that they felt like failures. That was the most common one, and it is in all the studies. Author Julie Ann Barnhill writes of leading a parenting group and being so struck by the levels of guilt and insecurity that she asked if there was anything the parents didn't feel guilty about. Total silence ensued. Failure was the number one. Now, I'm not saying that it was a 24/7 constant failure, but failure is just an emotion that comes in, I think, to everybody's life that way. On Friday, we had memorial service for Alice Berryman, and and probably because of her age group, because she was in the mid-80s, not many of you knew Alice well. Some of you probably could not even place Alice, and we understand that. Alice's story goes back. A lot of her life was lived in the state of Washington. Alice married, and if you follow through her life, you would just at surface say there were 5 children in Alice's life. But Alice had 2 children of her own, one by birth, one by adoption. That brings in 4 biological parents, 4 gene pools. Alice's sister died and left 3 children. Alice, being the kind of person that Alice was, if you'd have to know her, did not want them going to foster homes, took them in. One of them was natural by birth of her sister. 2 were adopted. Are you following the gene pools? 10. It was not smooth, and we'll leave it at that. And life was hard anyway. On a small little dairy farm up in Washington State, relationships were not always smooth. And Alice, the phenomenal believer that she was, I am sure, had nights laying in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling like she was a failure. Now, this morning I am going to take liberty, and I am on the thinnest of ice, okay? The thinnest of ice. And I'm going to use some people who are sitting in class this morning who I have not even asked permission to do this with. Okay? All right? And they're here this morning too. And I don't know if you know their stories, and I'm not going to tell the whole story. We don't have that kind of time today. But in the back over here, we have 2 fine people, and their names are Val and Sherry Eklund. Val and Sherry Eklund had 5 biological children of their own. They raised them. They are all married of them. They're all married, and they have many grandchildren. And they're waiting for these 2 up here to have more grandchildren. That is a story we'll definitely not touch this morning. But through a long set of circumstances, God laid on their heart, and I'll cut it real short, to adopt 6 young girls after their 5 were gone. Of the 6 young girls, they come from 3 different families. You do the math on all the different sets of parents and the biological pool, and putting that kind of blending together. It's just been so much fun for them. I'm sure that they go to bed every night wishing that, gosh, why couldn't we have had 12 more? Now, I'm not, I haven't interviewed them, and I'm not trying to put words in their mouth, but I bet there are nights they go to bed thinking, oh my word, right? Oh my word. Now, how can we get this done? We have another young couple in the back here that are blending a family of 7 children, Kim and Jill. A different set of circumstances, because both of the mates were killed in accidents. And they're blending the 7 children that came out of those 2 marriages. And I'm sure some nights they go to bed and they say, oh, this is so much fun. We should have done this with 12 or 14 or 18. Don't we go to bed some nights and stare at the ceiling and feel like failures? Failures. We had 5 kids, and at our house, it had to go perfect. Because we were Baptist. We were Baptist. We were Baptist. My dad was a Baptist preacher. And our son called one night, and his marriage was gone, and he was getting a divorce. We don't have divorce in our family. We're Baptist. We're Baptist. You don't have divorce in your family. But he did. And as we laid staring at the ceiling that night, what did we feel like? Failures. And we get to dwelling on our failures because we see flaws in our children. And it agonizes. We say, how, with all this sweat and toil and right stuff we're trying to put in these kids, could they possibly? We're failures. Now, that's not uncommon. And I want to tell you right now, you are not a failure. We are imperfect. We are clay. We are flawed. We don't do everything right, but we are not failure. I was going to interject something, and I really want to go back, and it doesn't fit perfect. I forgot it, and I'm sorry. We dwelt the last couple of weeks on Psalm 127. Children are an what? A heritage from God. And we talked about the ownership of our children. He's the original owner. He has loaned them and put them in our house. And I got thinking after I left last week, hey, we've gone around a circle on something, you know. Everything is circles, you know. Haircuts are circled, clothes styles are cyclic, it goes around in a circle. And we said, you know, if we're going to seek wisdom on raising our children, they belong to God, so we have to have not our answers, we have to have His, right? Remember the old bracelet that had 4 initials on it? What were they? What would Jesus do? WWJD. And so when you decide, or are trying to decide, and I hope you don't really do this, but I hope you do this answer-wise, but I hope you don't run the situation, and you're trying to decide whether your 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grader should have a cell phone, go ask Jesus. What would Jesus say about your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grader having a cell phone? Stop grinning at me. Answer the question. I'm not trying to trap you, nor am I trying to give you a guilt feeling. What would Jesus say? Or you say,
What's a cell phone?
what's a cell phone? Good here. Right there. Case of attention, she said, what's a cell phone? But he's omniscient. He's omniscient. He already had a plan in somebody's head way down the line that there would be a cell phone. Good, Claudia. Love you. Or you've already made the fatal mistake. You kind of get worried by feelings there, right? You say, you know, how many? Is it good, Jesus, for my kid to be on that cell phone watching videos 2-3 hours? My name is Neil. You know. Well, what would Jesus say to that? But in reality, that's the way we ought to be approaching these things. What is the real reason people? I don't want to make you feel good. What is the real reason people are buying cell phones for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th graders? What is the real reason they're doing it? Everybody else is doing it. Is that the philosophy you want to use to raise your children on? Everybody else is doing it. So, you know, they're all 16 and, you know, most of them are out drinking beer on Friday night. Is that the way you want to do it? Large number are out having sex on Saturday night. You have busy weekends, you know, you can schedule all these activities on different nights. Put the two together, that's pretty fatal. That way, you know. So I'm going to get that in, but I want to go back to this failure thing. You know? So we have what in our mind and our emotion is we feel like failures. We feel like failures when these disasters come with our kids. Pastor Carlson, I think, taught about the last parenting class before this one. It was probably at least 3 to 4 years ago. And I know one of the things he said is, and this is not exactly an encouraging statement for us, but it's true. He said, you as a parent can do absolutely everything right. Everything. And of course we won't. But you could do everything right. And there are no guarantees. Because in the end, they will make their decisions. You will turn them out the door, and they'll be out the door before you turn them out the door. Because, you know, at 15 or 16, they'll go out on some of their activities with their friends, without you. Even if you have this cell phone in their pocket, they'll be without you, and they will make their decisions that way. There are no guarantees. You should not feel guilty over their bad decisions. We are imperfect. That is not ever an excuse, however, for us to use poor decisions in training our children. But if we take this feeling of failure and we let it just dominate our thinking, pretty soon, some folks, I don't think you'd be guilty of this, I think you're grounded spiritually better than this, but some believers who are not grounded well spiritually will pretty soon will say, God doesn't understand what I'm up against. How would God know anyway? He never married. He never had children. He never went through this. He never had cell phones. He never had videos. He didn't have all this modern day temptation. God doesn't understand this. Take your Bibles and go first of all to Exodus chapter 4. God doesn't understand children. Exodus chapter 4. Exodus chapter 4. And the verse I want to call your attention to is verse 22. And we're asking the question, how could God possibly understand if he never married, never had children? How could he understand what we're up against with the failure of our children, with our children who don't obey, with our children who won't get in line, when we have told it very clearly what is good, what is evil, what are the consequences, how will they suffer if they don't obey? Verse 22, then you shall say to Pharaoh, thus says the Lord, Israel is my firstborn what? Son. And we go to see in just nothing more than sheer pages of volume, 3/4 of the Bible goes on and deals with the relationship with God the Father and his children, Israel. Go to Isaiah 66. Isaiah 66, please. Not only does he understand the Father's viewpoint, dealing with the Son, in Isaiah 66, he takes the feminine viewpoint in 66:13, and he describes himself, 66:13 of Isaiah, as one whom his mother comforts, so I will comfort you. So he clearly identifies with the fact that I can understand both the father who is working with a son, I can understand the mothers trying to comfort the child. Now, go to, again, just back a page, Isaiah 65, and verse 2, he understands your feelings of failure. In 65:2, he says, I spread out my hands all day to a what?
Rebellious.
A rebellious people. God worked years and years and years and years and years with disobedient children. So therefore, if you work and work and work, and you have a disobedient child, and you feel like you're a failure, therefore God is a failure. Following your line of reasoning, our line of reasoning, not yours, I'm sorry. All right? Is God a failure?
No.
No, he's not. Who failed? Israel failed. Who fails at your house?
Everybody does.
Your methodology could be flawed. Okay, yeah. Your methodology could be flawed. But who does the disobeying? The children do the disobeying. I know, humanly speaking, how we are going to feel. I know how I felt about our son's divorce. I also know how I went back and went over some things as the father. One of the big things is my son felt like every woman in the world had to be like her. And he assumed every woman in the world was like her. So he took the actions of a husband to be like me. He did not marry a woman who was like her. And I'm not saying his woman was flawed. I don't mean that for a moment. But if he acted like me, it didn't fly with Susan. She wanted a different kind of attention than I could give her. Total different background growing up. She could handle things a different way. Not Susan. Didn't fly. Who failed to teach the son that all women are different? Me. Flawed method by Dad. And that's why we feel failure, okay? Does that mean we're an overall failure? All right, now I want you to grab that. Because, you know, we're sometimes in talking about children and how we train them, and we talk about we feel failure, and we come across a little negative. And I never want you to walk out totally discouraged. Okay? We are imperfect sometimes in our methods. God understands. Father to Israel. I mean, you think your kids are bad? You got enough Bible background to know about Israel. Oh my word. Talk about blatant little liars, you know. They repeat again to Israel everything Moses said. Moses said, we are going to do it right to the jot and the tittle and the cross. Yeah, we're going to do it all. Liars. They never even intended their heart to do it, and they didn't do it. You know? God understands all that. He understands the father role, he understands the mother role, and he understands the rebellious child. Okay? God was not a failure, and you're not a failure. And so what we always want to be looking at here is, are our methods flawed? Are our methods flawed that way? Now, I want to do something else. I drug the poor Eklunds and Kim and Jill into this today, and poor Alice is in the grave and can't even defend herself today. And I want to share something with you today, and it's very dangerous to do this. Praise the Lord, none of my kids are here. I want to share a little bit of our story. And that, I mean by that, Bev and I. Bev and I got married at 18. And of course, you know, in those days, 18-year-olds were much more mature. You want to move out of the way, the lightning is about to come down. We were as immature as any 18-year-old ever born on the face of this earth. We got married at 18, and of course at 19 there was a baby. Now, at least, praise the Lord, Beverly growing up on a farm at least knew how to take care of a baby. Now, the homes that we came out of put a pretty high premium on behavior. Now, Beverly's was more built in than mine, because on a farm, from the time you were born, it was all about work. Work just didn't leave much time for misbehavior. Everybody had a role, everybody had chores from birth almost. I mean, that's just the way it was. And tight farm families, everybody had roles and work, and that's the way it was. And she had a wonderful Christian family, etc. I grew up in a Baptist home. And my father would probably be called fairly strict. He was not bad. I don't mean that at all, but there were it was a pretty tight box, you know. I didn't smoke, I didn't chew, I didn't go with girls that do. Tell him, Beverly. And her box was smaller yet. No, that way. And so here at 19, we are parents. We are parents. Somehow, I don't know, we shared a common belief. And I look back, and we've even talked about this, and I don't know how. We had a strong belief that children had to behave, and that children could behave, and that children could mind, and that children could be taught. And we committed to that. And it was true that Bev was a no-nonsense mom. Bev was not known, as sweet as she is, as being a person with a lot of empathy. She was a good mom. And so we had this little girl. And we talked about 6 months. The word no was 6 months. We were totally committed at 6 months. We used the eye gate. We believed that the eyes were the pathway to the soul, the pathway to the heart. We wanted to talk to our kids, we talked to their eyes. And you had to look eyeball to eyeball with us. And if you didn't, you got gentle help. Look at me. And this will be gooder and gooder for you if you look at me. Yeah. And you have to train those little eyeballs, don't you, Amanda?
Look at my face. I know.
Yeah. My face is not up there. And you have to win that battle. You have to win those battles. You have to look at me eyeball to eyeball. You have to. If it takes all day, you have to look at me eyeball to eyeball. When you don't even know what an eyeball is, you have to look at me eyeball to eyeball. And so we did that. We just did that. There were expectations, and I encourage you to have expectations. But if you're going to have expectations, you have to have accountability. You have to have accountability. I was laughing the other day, and I showed this to Beverly. Before we moved out here from Illinois, we were in our church 25 years. And so the number of acquaintances we have there is more than we can count. And there was a young couple that came up through our youth program, married now. He's a deputy sheriff back there in the Peoria area, and she's a school teacher and coaches one of the best girls softball teams in the state of Illinois. And she has a cosmetics business on the side, and so she does live videos like that. So she's doing a live video the other day. Well, they got a 2-year-old. He's in the other room doing something, and she's demonstrating this product, everything, and all of a sudden she said, "Liam, what are you doing?" She's going like that, and everything. Playing, not with that, put that down, you know, da, 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 da. And she goes on everything else. And pretty soon she said, "Liam, come here." And she goes on talking everything else. But Liam doesn't appear. And a while later, you know, she said, "Liam, come here, now." Liam doesn't appear. I said, "Bab, come here, look at this." Liam didn't come. Liam didn't come. What's my point? Expectations, no accountability. At our house, Liam come here, no Liam appear, Liam's butt appears. Now, there has to be accountability. Okay? Liam come here now. Liam no up here. Nothing done. Mom and Daddy's word, not true. Got it? Liam come here. No Liam. Mom and Daddy's word, not true. Got that, Cole? Down the road, Cody. Down the road. Cody said he's got it, Val. Hold him to it, man. Okay. There has to be with your expectations, accountability. No accountability, there has to be consequences. I'm not telling you right now what the consequences has to be, and I'm probably not going to, but there has to be consequences. There has to be consequences. There were consequences at our house. They came early in life. All of this was done early. By the time we're 7 or 8 years old, we're having so much fun because it was done. When I sent them off to school, when we sent them off to school, and please don't misunderstand, we're not bragging, we were blessed. We fell into it by sheer ignorance, I think. We just believed kids could be trained, and we went at it and did it. When I sent them to school, I didn't have to go to school and have notes about they couldn't sit down and they couldn't be quiet. They could do that before they went. And that was my job to get them ready to do that, not the teachers. Teacher's job was to teach them, not raise them. You're preaching, Larry. So I have a soft spot in my heart for teachers. I spent 35 years doing that. David is getting ready to retire from 41 years? 41. And it ain't that way for poor David. It's not that way now. 41 years. They have to try and raise kids now. Because we're not all doing our jobs. But my point is expectations. And do you know, you can set very high expectations for very young children. All you have to do is make sure that it is something they can accomplish, okay? And you can figure that out if you've got a brain in your head, and you do. Make sure it's something they are age-wise able to accomplish. And that you communicate it, and you teach it to them, and you have expectations, and you have accountability, and bring it to pass. You can do that. Now, if you're past, and you gotta go backwards, can you do that? Yeah, but it's tough, but you can do that. Can you go backwards in your home and bring expectations? Yeah, you have to be a little innovative. You have to be innovative, but it's your home. You call the shots. When was the last time your kids brought a rent check to you? When was the last time your kids said, hey, I'll pay for the groceries this week? You call the shots. You call the shots. What time are we? Oh, we're good. That way. And so we did this. We did this at home. And I want to tell you, it was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable home that way. So we did that. We start with the simple things at home. The second place, and now we'll probably start to part company a little bit. The second place we did this was church. The churches we went to didn't have nurseries. They did not have nurseries. So, by the time we had a 22-month-old on our laps, we had 2 brand new ones in our laps also. We had a set of twins. So there wasn't room in the lap for the 22-month-old, so the dad had sat in the pew or the chair or whatever was there. All right? Now, understand this. Not bragging, not bawling you out, not getting you guilt trip. That the 22-month-old had to sit there, and there were no Cheerios, no books, no toys, and no cell phones. No. Why did we do that? Were we mean? Well, Dad was a little bit. Why was I taking them to church anyway? Because there were extra baggage, and we had them, and Bev and I were going to go. Well, it was a long-term goal. Why was I taking them to church? It's a long-term goal. Come on, think. Why am I taking them to church? Learn what?
God's word.
22 months. 22 months. What was that? I want to hear it. I don't want to miss the good stuff.
So they can learn to be gooder and gooder.
You got us going, girl.
Well, I guess.
You're the hero of the class today.
Training.
And that is partly right, but there's a purpose, there's a goal in there. Somebody said training for what? For what? Just like they already knew how to sit still. I taught them that at home.
How to know Christ.
How to know Christ? Put it together a little bit more. You're on track. You're there. She's 22 months old. She didn't understand any doctrine or theology. She had a little Bible in her hand because she's a Baptist. Married you. She had a quarter. She's a Baptist. The Bible. I mean, you're there. But she wasn't going to understand the 4 spiritual laws. But keep going, you guys are great. Put it together.
Train her so that someday she can, and she's ready to be able to do that.
Train her so that someday she wasn't occupied down on the floor or eating Cheerios, and someday, with that training to be quiet, being gooder and gooder, she'd be still. So when the Holy Spirit wanted to prompt in her heart, she wasn't distracted thinking church was a playtime or out getting a drink of water or going to potty. If you think I'm crazy, I should tell you the real story is that you be confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt. You know, my kids thinking they have to go to the bathroom unless they've got a bladder problem, they can wait. Some dad really pinned me down on that once. Said, well, one of your kids says I can't wait. I said, put them on your lap. Said, what do you mean? Said, they can't wait. Put them on your lap. He said, what if they wet their pants? I said, they'll only do it one time. You will make sure it never happens again. If it's on your lap, it won't get the pew wet. Larry is crazy. I don't care. Unless they got a batter problem, they can sit an hour, they won't. Someday the Holy Spirit of God will speak to them. Do you want them to miss that moment? You want them trained so there's a listening ear, so that when that time comes, you can't dictate that time, but you can train for the open heart and the tender heart. You tell them about Jesus at home, but what you're doing is you're training what you can about Jesus. So when the moment comes, the teachable moment, that way. When that comes. My dad, you should have known my dad. I guess the apple does not fall too far from the tree. My dad had mostly country churches. They were all milk farmers, most places we went. So we never went to church before 8 o'clock at night. You had to get the cow's milk first. You understand that, Chad? And, but there were no nurseries, so people had to have their babies. But we had one family that liked to put the toddler on the floor. Sunday morning service, the toddler got out of reach, and the toddler got to the center aisle. And the toddler got all the way to the front. And my dad just stopped preaching and stared at the child. And the parent finally had to get up and all the way to the front, get the child, go all the way back, and my dad went right on preaching. The child was never put on the floor again. Of course, that was the same preacher that caught his 16-year-old son fooling around once and stopped in the middle of the service and said, middle of his sermon, and said, Larry, you go sit by your mother. My mother was up there. That church couldn't have been any longer than this, and I swear it was 500 yards. With everybody looking at you, you're 16 years old. Not 6, 16. So I get some of this gene pool that way. Little kids can do amazing things. Set your expectations high. It's good to set them high. We did. And the consequences, you can imagine, were stiff. But if they're stiff, they have great little memories. And they don't want to come back to that situation again. And they'll get the little message. You do it early and often and firmly enough. And then 11, you start sailing. Now I know there's extra problems if it's special needs, if it's blended families, if it's older kids and you want to go back in reverse, but you can. You are still in charge. You are still calling the shots. You are still doing these things that way. Beverly took 5 of them to the grocery stores alone. I taught, I coached, I was an athletic director, I was never around. She had to do that all alone. Nobody was allowed to go, not if you wanted your arm in one piece. You did it once, maybe, but you never did it a second time. And no, Beverly was not abusive, I don't mean that. But if you start at 6 months with grab for the glasses and you learn this no, when you go to the store and they go like that, and you get the same no, they know what that no means. So it doesn't happen. So eventually, couldn't do it with a young one because she was still a toddler, but you could take the 4 others, go by the library, you just drop the 4 off the library, they go in all alone and stay and just read 2 or 3 hours while mom got all the groceries, pick them up on the way back. Can you do that with your kids?
Probably wouldn't be safe.
The library or the kids?
Library, well, kids.
And home.
Yeah, I know, yes, we do, and that's a good point, that's fair, Beverly. Yes, we live in a different day and age, and you have to watch out for the safety of the children. But we could, she just drop them off, and they'd walk into the library, 4. These were not teenagers, these were young children. You drop them off, they knew how to behave, they knew how to get their library books, and they knew how to sit there together and read for 3 hours, and then she'd pick them up. Now you say, well, you really had unusual kids. We did not. If you'd be around them now, you would say, oh my gosh, they're as crazy or worse than their dad. And they are. They are. If you get my sister's kids and our kids together, you will not have any trouble at all figuring out which 5 are ours. Oh, both my sisters have 5, so there are 15. You'd go blindfolded and pick out our 5. Blindfolded. If they're loud and crazy and tattooed and pierced, they're ours. They're ours. I love nose rings. I love you, Melissa. We had fun. We had fun. Our kids were flat out fun. We'd have, I coached a lot, and we'd have parties Friday night at our house. There was a young couple, times begin to change with these young couples. But we're not going to have any children. No children. Don't want any children. No children. They would die and get invited. They didn't want to see us. They'd come over and they'd spend until midnight or 1. This is Friday night after football meeting. Midnight, 1, 2 o'clock, They just play with our kids. We don't want any kids. But they just want to play with their kids. So we saw them a couple summers ago, and their kids have all graduated from college now. We don't want any kids, though. Yeah, the first one we had, Beverly only worked 9 months out of our home. And all the time we've been married, long enough to get pregnant again. And we were up against it to get somebody who got this job all of a sudden, had to start work on Monday, and who's going to take care of this baby? I'd go to school full time and had a job besides. And on Sunday night, our pastor's wife said, well, we'll keep her. Because, she was a good Baptist preacher's wife. We went to the Baptist church. Sorry, I'm taking medicine for it, though. That's med I'm having trouble with.
Yeah.
This was a real active pastor who was in a lot of organizations, and they traveled a lot. The thing, I was going to a lot of day conferences and everything. They took her every place in the world. They took her every place. They took her up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they would go. Didn't get back till late at night. She went everywhere with them, because that's the kind she was. She knew how to pick up a piece of trash and everything else, and she was only a year old at that time. Put it away. My job paid $8 a week, and we were going to college. And she got to pick up paper. Somebody sent us $20, and we could not find it anywhere. And we were in a den panic. $20 meant when you made $8 a week. We were crazy, and we finally went through all the waste baskets. She picked it up and threw it away. You throw away trash paper. Training wasn't too good there, was it? Now, the whole point is not our kids. The whole point is, you can do that if you want to. You can do that if you wanted to. You can do that. You can do that. Last little illustration is Beverly had, because they're on a dairy farm, there's no social life on a dairy farm. And Sunday afternoon, they got to go to their cousin's house. because Grandma lived there until she died, so they could see Grandma. Had 5 cousins that they played with in the afternoon, etc. And one of those cousins went to Vietnam, was there 21 days, and was killed in Vietnam. He had married just before he shipped out. No one in the family had ever met the wife. It was, it was one of those times that you just, but at the funeral, it was a small town kid, so you know, small town funeral, everybody in the world was there. We had to travel a distance to get there, and I think we were the last ones there. And we were, the only seats left were this far from the casket. And we had 5 lug rats. And so our 5 kids sat just like this. Just like this. Never moved for 2 hours. No Cheerios. Nothing. Why? Again, because somehow, accidentally or providentially, we knew we could train them. And we did. And so can you. So can you. You got a lot better gene pool than we got. We had 1 good gene pool and 1 rotten one. Praise the Lord, it went that way. It went that way. But you can do that. Were there consequences? Yeah. You know you want me to say the word spanking, don't you? Spanking. There. I will talk about that sometime. Yes, Beverly and I believe in spanking, and I believe it's biblical. I'm going to put one disclaimer on it right now. I believe, and this figure comes out of my head, it does not come out of any research or anything else. I believe that spanking is biblical, and I believe it's effective. But I believe a vast majority of what's done nowadays under the heading of spanking is not. And it is closer to abuse than it is to biblical spanking. When the time comes, I'll illustrate why I say that. Okay? I'll illustrate that. And it starts with the fact that people do it in anger. That's not biblical right there. And when you get off on that, you're already in trouble. Okay? Yes. And I will tell you, when our kids got spanking, they did not want another one. When I got one from my dad, probably like some of you got from your fathers too, you did not want another one. That one. And so, I just share that with you to tell you it can be done. And no, if you got a teenager and you have to go back and correct some things, you probably can't go back that way. But you can still have consequences. You have a brain in your head, and use it. You are still in charge, and you can figure out consequences with older kids that hurt. Remember I told you a story about the gal that cleaned my teeth, and she said if they were 1 minute late, they lost the car for a week. So 5 minutes late, you were without a car for 5 weeks. Well, you know the most precious thing to a teenager is that thing that goes to their ear. We got to talk about electronics a little bit someday too, you know. When you go to the table to eat, where are the phones? Incidentally, I'm not talking about the kids, I'm talking about yours. Where are your phones? Why did you put a basket out on the counter in the kitchen and everybody walks by there first? And then you go to the table and there's no phone. Oh, he's meddling again. All right. Why does Larry make such a big deal out of obedience? Because God does. 1 Samuel chapter 15. Because God does. We'll close on this, and we want to talk about next week a little bit more about that work and chore business. I want to hear what you got to say about that. 1 Samuel chapter 15. I make a huge deal out of obedience. Because obedience is a big thing, but it's a means to an end, and the end is more important. We want to go to character training. It's character training that we're after in our child, and of course we want to see them come to a meaningful relationship with Christ. And by meaningful, I would say one that has Christian character in it, not just one which names Christ as Savior so as a ticket, a free ticket to heaven, an escape from eternal damnation and punishment, one that has meaning, a relationship with Christ. We want to do that, one that is full of Christian character and integrity and honesty and all of those things, which are going to keep them in the rough and tumble of life. If you think, and there is, I cannot fathom honest. I read a little bit and try to keep, but I cannot fathom the world you function in as a parent. I don't even begin to understand how your children are going to cut the world they're in. And no, I'm not setting aside Christ and that they are going to because of Christ, that's the answer, but to take that all in. And what has happened in the arena of abortion the last 2 weeks has just blown this old man apart. No comprending. Just no comprending. Okay? But I know that we're going to have to train Christian character like crazy. But to get there, that foundation thing is going to have to be obedience. They're going to have to be obedient. See, because obedience is a big thing with God. But it's so He can get us to obedience. You know, we mentioned, does God understand disobedience? Oh yeah, with Israel. Well, one thing I didn't say when we were talking about that is, there's another illustration there about Christ being a parent. What are we in Christ through our relationship? We are His children. We are His children. Oh my goodness, I don't even want to look in a mirror. I don't even want to think about my relationship to Christ and how I have been all my life in my obedience to Christ. It's been awful. It's been awful. There's no way I would want to lay my life in front of you because of the disobedient things I have done to God in my life. I'm real careful how hard I am on my kids. I want to be hard on them in a certain way, but I don't want to be totally non-understanding to the disobedience in my children's life. But I want to train to get that out of them because I know the end result. In the 15th chapter of 1 Samuel, there's trouble on the horizon for the Israelites, as always, enemy nations, and God sends a message through Samuel to Saul, go to the Amalekites, and here you got some more of these kites and ites, that we talked about so much. Micah, a couple of weeks ago when he preached, gave just a fabulous outline of these different people groups that all end in ites and how they were such a detriment to Israel always. And here's another one of them. God gives an order. The order is very simple. Now, in one sense, we don't completely understand that because God gives a very harsh pronouncement when He says, utterly destroy everything. Everything included, not just men, not just the soldiers, but the women and the children and the animals. Even the animals were to be destroyed. And so Saul said, I got it, I got it, we'll completely obey. And he goes out, and if you read through the chapter, you'll find out that they went out and they won the battle and lost the war because they spared some of the best cattle. And, they spared a few people. And they thought, and I'm paraphrasing to save us all time, they said, we have a better idea. No, what they were saying is, we have a better idea than God. Several years ago, there was an ad on TV by Ford Motor Company, and a light bulb went out. They said, we have a better idea. They said, we have a better idea. And they said, we have a better idea than God. We have a better idea. We're going to save them so that we can sacrifice them to God. Now, the sacrifice to God here in the Old Testament, that's ultimate. That's how they got their sins covered. So that was of ultimate importance. This sacrifice to God was a really big deal, right? Everything like that. And so you go down through here in the 15th chapter. Of course, Samuel finds out that they hadn't done what they're supposed to. And I've preached many times on this chapter. I love it. It's a favorite, you know. And Samuel Coon says, hey, how'd it go? Oh, we obeyed to the hilt. You know, we did everything that way. And Samuel says, how come I can hear sheep? You know, it is supposed to be, no pun intended, deathly silent. You know, destroy, kill everything. Deathly silent. How can I hear? Isn't that the illustration? Isn't that like sin in our life? Your sins will always find you out. Okay. But what I want to call your attention to is verse 22, where Samuel gives this announcement, and he is speaking directly from God. And he says, has the Lord as great of delight in burnt offerings and sacrifice as he does in obeying the voice of the Lord? He's weighing out two really important things. One of them is sacrifice, which is just the ultimate in the Old Testament. And then he says, behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to listen than the fat of rams. What goes into obedience as you train your children? Listening. Listening. You got that? To obey is better than sacrifice. God puts an unbelievable premium on obedience, whether it's in our life or especially as you train your children in your training. Liam, come here now. No Liam. Liam, come. No Liam. John, put your toys away. John doesn't move. Partial obedience is disobedience. You have to tell them twice. That is not how you're training. Yes, the first couple times as you begin this brand new. And you also, when you show them and take them by the hand how to do it. But you've got to move very quickly. To obey is better than sacrifice. Now I want to add one more thing, because it's in the word here. Look at 23. For rebellion, okay? Not obeying is what? And it's worse, or just the same as the sin of, another word for divination? Witchcraft. Witchcraft. Can we apply that as we train our children? Yes, we can. We're not taking it out of Scripture. There's an illustration of this is how Samuel described the disobedience of Saul. And that's what we're trying to steer way around with our children. Disobedience is going to. Last week, what was the saying up here last week? If we keep defending the wrong of our children, someday we'll pay a lawyer to do the same thing. Yeah. And it all stems out of. Look at our social problems. Look at what we're up against. And it's all disobedience. I mean, you go, yeah, the abortion issue is so much on our mind right now. But it all, you trace back, and it's what? It's disobedience. And look at the jams we get in ourselves in our own personal life and our relationship with Christ. And, well, you know, we're disobedient. We're disobedient. And so think that over, not just, I know we're talking about our kiddies now, but maybe we better stop and make a little personal application for ourselves. Because if our kiddies don't see it in our life, it'll be a little tough to teach, isn't it? Because they'll read us first. They'll read us first. Is it real with you, Mom? Is it real with you, Dad? Is it real? Let's pray. Boy, Lord, on this subject, we do need to get gooder and bigger. We do. We do. Thank you for these people, God. We struggle in our own lives with obedience to you. But God, bring some conviction in their life on this. And then help us. Help us, Lord, for training our children to get this laid in as a foundation in obedience we need to put in the lives of our kids. And Father, for these families that are so special and
putting these blended families together. Lord, we honor them, we respect them, we love them. But Lord, we need to pray for them more. These are huge tasks that they're doing. And Lord, up and down these roads, there's a lot more stories than we mentioned. And there's pain in a lot of them too, Lord. And we ask you just be with these families in a dear way. Thank you for these people and their faithfulness to be here each and every week. Continue to be with us and teach us as we plunge out again next week. We love you, Lord. We thank you for your goodness to us. Ask this in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you, people.